Chat. All right, we are live. Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Stranger. Oh, getting a bit of feedback here. One sec. All right. Sorry about that. A little feedback there. How do I sound? Am I nice and clear? All right. Welcome, everyone, to the live chat. Thank you for tuning in. We're doing a special live presentation today. And it's the inaugural release of flowanastassia's premiere sample pack. Very excited to show you guys this pack. It is packed with a ton of goodies here and lots of value here. And we're going to be showing you the contents of this pack. And then we have flowanastasia. She's going to be calling in a little bit. We'll have a little chat with her and Tyr Kohout. Shouts out to everyone in the live chat. Tiny Bites, what's up? Info Slinger, Easy D. Thank you, everyone who has pre-ordered the vocal pack. It is officially out today. So if you had pre-ordered, make sure you check your inbox. You should have got a notification about the download of the file. As well, if you're on my email list, you'll be receiving a special discount. Or you had yes, if you're on my email list, you do get a special discount. As well, for everyone that's tuned in today, if you're not in my email list, you'll also get a special 10% discount. You can find it down in the links below. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to do a quick few announcements here. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing in the live chat? Did you guys tune in during our impromptu rave on the weekend? I was super excited to play after not being able to play at a live rave for over 2 years. So Tyr Kohout and I threw down this Saturday. It was super fun. It was at a remote location down in the middle of Toronto. We have a valley that runs north and south straight across the center of the city. So it's pretty cool. So right in the middle of the city, we have this valley that runs through. There's a river that runs across it, and the promoters found this area under a bridge, and they were able to set up a pretty big sound system there. It's pretty remote from any residential area, so you can go pretty loud without getting detected by anyone. So we were able to go pretty late. So Tyr Kohout came on Saturday at 11. He was the headliner, threw down an amazing set. He started with some really deep Bushman beats, got into some minimal rollers, and then finished it off with some hard neuro bangers. It was just a really phenomenal set. So if you guys are curious about the set, we actually live streamed it. It was recorded. You can find a link on my channel. We also did a live stream of finding the rave beforehand and then a little debrief of our set, and you can find all that on my channel, so check it out. Shouts out to Tyr Kohout and flowanastasia in the live chat. So yeah, let's get right into it. I'm gonna drop into Ableton and let's check out this pack. So once again, let me just maybe just show you guys the shop. So if you find a link in the description, you will find more information about this pack. Right, here's the nice art for the pack. We also did, so flowanastasia was kind enough to do a little video guide about the pack that we aired last week, so you can check that out as well. She shows us some tips on how to use this pack. Again, it's professionally recorded, engineered by Tyr Kohout. There's 6 full songs in different keys. Each song is recorded in 2 tempos, so you have each song is in drum and bass and a slower format. So if you guys produce house or dubstep, then there's a slower tempoed version of the song which you could use. So pretty cool. I've never seen any sample pack do that before, so we wanted to make this as accessible as possible to various genres and producers. So along with the vocal content, there's tons of bonus content. There's 200 spoken word phrases, 60 piano loops, and 35 field recordings. All of it is 100% royalty free, and it is recorded at a high end recording studio. So you can check the online link down below. But yeah, let's just check out the pack real quick. So if you guys have the pack, then you'll be familiar with this. But if not, I'm just going to show you what's inside. Uh, just one sec. Oh. All right. Oh, I guess I forgot to share the screen. So let me go back here once again. Haven't streamed for a bit, so haven't used the software for a little while. So bear with me here. Yeah, this is the page. Again, you can check it out here down in the links below. I won't repeat what I said here, but yeah, there's 6 different songs, 2 tempos each. This is one of the main features of this pack. Oh, let me just, here we go. Okay, I think we're good now. Mahadura, should you learn sound design on Serum or focus on production? I say start with what you're passionate about, right? What makes you interested about producing, because you gotta follow your interests, and then from there it'll grow. Okay, so here is the pack. I wonder if I can make the screen any bigger for you guys. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so within the pack, you'll find 3 folders. There's a vocal folder, and this is where you'll find the bulk of the content. And the main songs you'll find under songs. So again, there's 6 songs, and each one is labeled by the key, so that's very helpful. Let's pop into this one here, Anything. Right. And as you can see, the song is broken down into 2 performances, 129 beats per minute and 172. So it's performed specifically at each tempo. So it doesn't sound like it was just slowed down. Like Flow Anastasia actually really put some thought into this, and how can she perform the song, because when you're performing at 129, the cadences are different. It calls for a different type of flow. So you get a different vibe if you're using the slower tempo one. So it's not just slowed down. It's actually, there's a different vibe to the performance. So that's really neat about this pack. Really proud of what she's done here. And here are the main files for the vocal pack. The vocals are broken down by the lead vocal, which is the main, and then you have left, right, and center harmony. So you can simply just drag it in. Now notice I'm at 172 beats per minute, so I'm gonna set my tempo at 172, and then I'll just pull these guys in.
Take a seat,
right, and then with Ableton, if you want to pull it into separate tracks, right, hold Command or Control, and then it'll add it on a separate track each, right? Uh,
take a seat, take a moment. You ought to know this. Take hold of me, 'cause I'd be hopeless without all that you do, that you are, so I do.
So what I really like about this, another point, is that they recorded the main vocals dry. So this is very helpful because as a producer, if I were handed vocals, I would like them to have as much creative control possible over how I mix the vocals. Right. So there's no reverb or delay added on, because I personally, every producer has their own way of adding their delay or reverb, right? So this is quite handy. So for example, I may want to drop in a reverb for this vocal, right? So I can just use a return track. I'll pull in, let's see, yeah, Valhalla. right? And then we can drop in some reverb here.
Take a seat, take a moment. You ought to know this. Take hold of me, cause I'd be hopeless without all that you do, that you are.
For anyone that has questions about the pack, like for example, about what mic, we'll have Tyr and Anna chime in later, and then you can ask as your questions during that point of the video today.
Take a seat, take a moment. You ought to know this. Take hold of me.
But yeah, as Tyr has mentioned, the vocals were recorded on a TLM 102. So all the vocals are high quality. They have been mixed to perfection. Other than having reverb and delay, they are dry. But in terms of EQ and compression, it has already been the mix has been perfected, which is one of the key features of these vocals is that you can just place in your track and you don't have to do much work to get them to sound good because they've already been processed in a way to sound they're optimal in a mix. So as you can hear, the vocals sound very balanced tonally.
Yes, without all.
So you don't need to add any EQ to the vocals unless you want to add your creative touch to the vocals, right? You could possibly put on a tape saturation filter to make it sound a little more old school if you want, but that gets into the creative part, and we want to give you more control creatively. We just wanted to give you the vocals sounding as good as possible and as neutral as possible so that you can apply your own touch to these samples.
So I do anything for you.
Let's check out what else is in the pack before we move on. So yeah, you have the dry vocals, which is the main samples, and then you have these fragments which you can use.
Anything, darling, anything for you. Do anything for you.
What I really like is the effects folder. So there's a bunch of loops here, which you can just pull in your track, right? So let's pull in this one here, the anything for you. We'll just solo it. And the way these were created is you can just put them in your track and have it loop, right?
Anything for you. Anything for you.
And I like how they can loop seamlessly. Let's check out this one. See how it loops seamlessly? It's quite nice. Especially if you want to build a vibe, it's cool to have a vocal that just loops and gives you kind of a vibe to build off. Yeah, so these are quite fun to play with. And I gotta give my shouts to Tyr Kohout for adding his creative touch on these affected vocals. He's a wizard with processing vocals, which is why Tyr Kohout and Anna make such a great team when they work together on tracks.
We can set the tone already.
Right, really cool pieces here. Let's explore the pack a little more. Let's check out the bonus content. So I believe the bonus content are little snippets from other sessions and other tracks that were never used.
Ooh, ah, ah. Oh, ooh, ah. Oh.
Let's check out the spoken folder.
All right.
I
All
love the
around the
spoken
world.
folders. There's tons of really cool little bits here.
Am I dreaming? Are you ready? Awaken. Brace yourself. One. Did you just fart?
That's a really funny one.
Getting lost.
These are great to pull in, like before a drop. You might want to pull in one of these vocals, or it might be something that you use in a phrase that repeats, right? So these are quite handy.
Let it all mutant. On a journey through sound.
I love that one. That's really old school jungle vibey.
On a journey through sound.
Love that one. And then you have the field recordings. Let's check out the pianos first, actually. So Flowanastasia has access to this vintage piano at her grandfather's house, and they went there to record these really lo-fi sounding pianos that has this really nice vibe to it. So this is all played by Flowanastasia. She's classically trained. You know when you hear those liquid drum and bass tracks and they have these little piano riffs that drop in here and there? These are perfect for that kind of thing. Very lush, very nice. I love the lo-fi sound of these. It just gives a vintage kind of vibe to it. You can drop them in a track just like that, right? Right. And they've all been labeled by key. So if you, depending on what track you want to pull in, this helps to keep everything in sync with your track. Then there's handy field recordings. The content like this is what I find lacking in my own production, in that having these kind of audio beds over your track, just give it another dimension, right? It's just that extra detail to your track. I like to use these over like a pad sound or during your intro breakdown. It just makes the track have a little more of an organic element to it, right? So these are cool. Yeah, I'll just show you a couple more of the vocals on this pack. So we checked out Anything. Here's Edge.
Another morning after, still no answers, still no answers. Hold you to wake and feeling different, but nothing's changed. Now there's no one left to blame, still so much to explain. I know it feels like you're on the edge.
Quality performances from Flowanastasia. Let's pull in the slower ones so you can hear the difference. So that was the Edge. Let's hear the Edge at 129 beats per minute. So let's bring this down to 129.
Another night, another morning after,
amazing performances from Flo Anastasia. Exactly what you would expect from a recording from her, from any of her tracks you'd find on bigger labels such as Ram Records and Viper Recordings. You're getting the exact same quality because it's the exact same people working on it, Tyr and Anna. So you get her amazing performances and Tyr's exceptional recording and mixing ability. So super pristine vocals, and I think you guys will have a lot of fun using these vocals in your creative sessions. So yeah, let's chime in with Flo Anastasia. Let's Tyr and Flo Anastasia are in the studio, so I wanted to bring them in and we'll have a quick chat with him and let's chat about the packs. So hello. Yeah.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. What's going on?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Happy release day.
Happy release day.
Yeah.
All right. That's my raw emotion for you.
How do you feel? I know you've been working on this for wow, like over a year. So I think it's we've all worked really hard to get up to this day, and yeah, I hope you're doing well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's many feelings for sure. We've been working on this for such a long time, and then even before thinking about starting this sample pack, I'd been doing vocals for so many years and had kind of thought about when is the right time to do a vocal pack, and then getting to create something like this with your help and with Tyr's help was like such a journey. And yeah, I'm so like almost at a loss for words for someone who is a writer. I'm like,
Yeah. I know you put out your best content on this pack. Like sometimes people think that it's just is vocal pack. Maybe they're not giving their best work, but you actually put off a lot of work to work on this pack. So
Thank you.
the pack
Yes.
speaks for itself. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I definitely wanted to, I guess, live up to the name, so to speak, and exactly for that reason, I didn't want people to be like, oh, it's just like crap, so to speak. But yeah, we put in just so much time and heart and effort into making it the best it could possibly be so that it is valuable and inspiring to people. And especially because it's my very first vocal pack after so many years of just doing vocal collabs, it's like, okay, I want this to be like epic. And I thought the idea to do 2 separate tempos was an interesting one as well, because while it made it so that every song took twice as long, I do really like the idea of people being able to use the same songs and lyrics for different tempos, because while I primarily listen to drum and bass, I know that a lot of people like to make other genres as well. And I also love dubstep, trip hop, like psytrance, like house kind of stuff as well. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to just have those vocal ideas available for any kinds of genres. And I think it was you and Tyr that had suggested that you do another tempo, and for that exact reason of like, yes, you can slow down vocals, but that you can always tell, and it's, there's artifacting, and like the noise and sound quality is like completely kind of ruined by doing that. And so, huge gratitude to you, Stranger. Huge gratitude to Tyr Kohout for putting this, because while it's my pack, I couldn't have done this without either of you guys. And so, big day, and thanks everyone in the chat for being here. I'm buzzing. Thanks for being here on this special day.
Well, I can say I'm super honored to have you here and host your pack on Deviant Audio, your premiere vocal pack. And as a producer, I really do appreciate that aspect that each song was recorded at 2 tempos, because you're right. Even although I produce drum and bass, sometimes I feel like producing at a slower tempo. And oftentimes when I grab a vocal pack from Splice or whatever, it's only at a specific tempo. So when I pitch it up or slow it down, you do get those artifacts. It just doesn't sound as good as something that was recorded for that tempo. And I really do appreciate that as a producer.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's thank you for this opportunity. And it was another one of those things of like,
yes, I think a lot of people do get their vocal samples from Splice and Loop Masters, but to be able to kind of put this out independently and through Deviant and through Stranger, who, as you guys all know, only puts out, you know, the best possible stuff, and it's once in a while, and it's, you know, a lot of time and effort goes into it. So to be the first official vocal sample pack for Stranger and for Deviant Audio is like, I'm getting like goosebumps right now. Like it feels really, really special. So it's a huge honor for me, and yeah, I hope it inspires people to have fun and experiment and do crazy things with it. Like I can't wait to hear what people make. I've never really heard my vocals in the context of like being used as samples, and I think that's why we put a lot of effort and time as well into specifically like the vocal effects loops that Tyr made. So each song comes with I think at least 15 vocal effects samples that you can just drop in, and then it has crazy like chopped rhythms or delays and stuff. And for anybody that already follows me, like I'm obsessed with that. Like I almost prefer my voice in crazy effects than just like normal. So a lot of like just fun and inspiring stuff to work with. And yeah, I gotta tell you, so I'm not a music producer, but I remember when I had opened up your liquid production kit, Stranger, I was like, Tyr was like teaching me how to use it and stuff, and I found myself real inspired to just like sit there creating like building blocks and stuff and like building out a track. And that's how I ended up also working on one of the songs for the pack, was by using your liquid kit and basically creating my own arrangement and then throwing samples in and like writing and stuff. And so yeah, it's just been a lot of fun to work on, and I hope that you know, some of the vocal ideas and the lyrics and the positive and the mental health stuff as well. I definitely made a point of like writing the songs to be representative of what you would hear on my traditional releases, where for those of you guys that follow me already, like you'll know that I don't often talk about your classic kind of like romantic relationship kind of stuff. I'm a lot more focused on like mental health and personal development and exploring consciousness, and there is a little bit of love stuff going on there for sure. But yeah, I hope people are just kind of inspired and feel the joy and the positivity and the sacred sounds, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's come to be your kind of brand, in that you touch on various issues, and it just makes your content more, I guess, relatable, because it doesn't always have to be about love. There are other issues that we can talk about, and that's what I like about your writing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And thanks. I'm just like looking at the chat as well, and really appreciate all your kindness, guys. Like it means the world to me.
Yeah.
169 BPM is 1 BPM too. So I think for the drum and bass ones, we have most of them are at 172. We have some at 174 as well. And then with the slower genre tempos, the most of them are at 129 BPM. And I remember we, between Tyr, Alan, and I, we'd spent a lot of time figuring out, if we're going to record at a slower tempo, what exact BPM should it be so that it can fit with, like, you know, different genres. And so we kind of did all these like calculations, and it's like the meme of like the looking at the math formulas and stuff. And we landed at 129 because we figured it was a good halfway point between, you know, you can go up to like the 140 and the dubstep kind of vibe, and then you can slow it down to the 120 as well. And we figured that at that midway point, if you are stretching a little bit down or a little bit up, you won't actually hear the different artifacting and like the noise issues and sound quality issues. But you would hear that if you were stretching down from 174 to 120. So yeah, that was another big reason that we chose those BPMs.
Yeah, I really like that you put a lot of thought into what BPM can we do this at, thinking about the different genres that people produce, because there are tons of people that produce at 160, 170, then there are producers at slower at 120, and then you have some people at around the 140, 150 BPM. And how do you what tempos do you record at, so you can offer something that is accessible to everyone? So you really thought about that, and that's really cool. And I like that, because as you mentioned, when you push 129 up to 140 or 150, it still sounds relatively smooth, and you don't hear those artifacts. So I think you producers will really appreciate that aspect, especially if you produce dubstep or anything at 140, 150 ppm, you can pull in the vocals that were recorded at the slower tempo and pitch, and then map it to your tempo, and it should sound pretty smooth.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And another big shouts to Tyr Kohout for that, because we followed the same, vocal processing and editing process that we normally would for all of our recording sessions. To answer the question here from Not Shiver, thank you so much for that question. You're asking a songwriter about her feelings, and that is a can of worms. So I'm gonna be brief. I would say, how did I feel making this pack? I think one interesting new experience I had with creating the pack that is not the same that I would normally do for other vocal projects and collabs is I definitely had the thought in mind of this is for a vocal sample pack, and there may be a lot of producers. I think probably most of you guys aren't going to necessarily use the full song. What you would instead maybe do is pick a sentence here and there, or a phrase, or chop something up. And that's actually, on a side note, why we have the fragments folder, where it's already prepared loops of the different fragments from the song. So if you're just pulling some loops in software, or if you've got one of those hardware groove boxes and you're doing the live beat things with your fingers, are the technical terms as a vocalist. So those are continuous loops and fragments. But I had that in mind as I was writing the songs, because I wanted to make sure, where possible, every sentence could be picked out and used on its own. So I wanted to have a lot of, like, I guess, earworms and things where the song could make sense, not just like as a full song, but maybe this is a cool sentence, or that is a cool sentence. And that's another reason why I really enjoyed also doing the spoken phrases, because there's 200 in there, and I wanted to have like a variety of stuff that's both, oh, this could sound cool in like an intro, or if you break it down, or like right before a drop, or whether it's funny or spiritual, or you know what I mean? Like, just kind of different parts of my personality that could work specifically as vocal samples. So that is a short answer to what I could probably make a 2-hour video on, about how I feel about making the pack. So thanks for asking.
For the audience out there, how long does it take for you to write a song?
This could be a whole other topic as well. It's been quite an ever-evolving journey of what it, for me personally, like to figure out, like, how do you write a song? Because you know how sometimes it's ideas can come to you and you can be inspired, and then 2 hours later you got something, and then other times it takes weeks and months.
Yeah. Do you start with like a beat, or is it like, do you have a specific formula? Like, do you write to a beat, or I know some writers, they write the lyrics without hearing the beat, and then they then mold the lyrics and melody to a beat, right?
Oh man, good question. I'll try to be brief. Definitely, I would say both. When I'm writing for a vocal feature, I'll usually have an instrumental, whether it's a minute and a half, super, or something rough, or already a full arrangement. But even in that process, personally for myself, I find that if you were to look at the memo pad on my cell phone, the whatever notes app people use, I'm at least once or twice a day, something occurs to me where I write down. It could be like a word, it could be a phrase, it could be something somebody said, or something I heard in a movie and I thought, like, oh, that could be like an interesting concept or lyric. And so I definitely have a lot of that. Sometimes in the shower as well, I'm like thinking about, if I've already started working on a song and I'm working out a phrase and it's not quite ready yet, I'm like singing it to myself in the shower, and then I'll try it on the music as well. But it's definitely an ever-evolving process. I will say I very rarely will sit down and then have like a full song written within that one session. For me personally, I try to work on one song per week at this point, and I'll have it literally like on loop as I'm driving, or if I'm walking down the street. And if you ever see me in person and I'm like mumbling to myself, I'm probably like working on a lyric or something. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear how everyone works. I like that process where you may have little seeds that get dropped, and you let it kind of ruminate or ferment, and eventually it grows into something bigger.
How do you find yourself working on music these days?
Yeah, I'm. It's kind of a similar process. It kind of is random, meaning it start. There's a number of different ways that songs start for me, but one of the ones that one of I relate to the concept with how you might have a word or an idea from life or some inspiration from life, and you might put it down. So that often happens for me in terms of melodies. I might be out maybe cycling or working out, and there'll be a little melody that just comes in my head, and I'll usually record it onto my phone, and then I forget about it for a month, and I come back to it, and then I hear it, and then it's like, oh, that might be a cool idea for a song, and then it might grow into something. So definitely that's one process and that I can relate to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've also heard the thing of just like, I guess improvising or just sitting down and
Yeah, I do it that way
seeing what
too. Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I Oh, just quickly as a side note here, Easy D is asking, so is it for drum and bass? The vocal pack, it is both for drum and bass, and every single song was also recorded at a slower tempo at around 129 BPM, so that you can use it for house, dubstep,
Yeah.
whatever you want. I am primarily a drum and bass vocalist, but I do like to listen to a lot of other genres as well, so I kind of that's why we
Yeah.
made it not just a
Yeah.
drum and bass vocal
Yeah.
pack.
What I would say is most of our audience here are DNB fans, so I did put DNB vocals, but really they're vocal samples and they could be used across any genre. So um, don't be you're not limited to using it in drum and bass because they are vocals and they can be applied across any context, right?
100%. A lot of the
Yeah.
vocal samples in there as well are. I know when I was working on the pack, one of the things I did was just ask people like, what would you want to hear in a vocal pack and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so I definitely heard a lot of ad libs. Do as many ad libs as you can, oohs and ahs and
Yeah.
spoken things. And so there's a ton of that as well, and that can definitely be used in
Yeah.
different tempos. Also noticed a lot of comments here about like kind of having like unfinished tracks and that kind of thing, and that's definitely something I've heard a lot of producers struggle with, and for myself as well. I think sometimes that stems from kind of like perfectionism, I guess, where it's never going to be perfect, and then you find yourself fiddling with like the the very very fine details, which
Yeah.
there's a time and place for that, I think. But one thing that I've been trying to learn and kind of grow more into is the fact that like a lot of this is just about following your inspiration and having fun and feeling free and expressing yourself. And I think when I first started out doing vocals, I was like very, very serious and kind of almost forgot to have fun in a way. And, sure, you got to be serious too, but I think there's got to be a balance there. So I think especially in a world these days of like, you've got things like TikTok where it is more about just being vulnerable and raw, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
really rough stuff, and like I think sometimes just getting it out of you and getting it out there
Yeah.
helps you kind of move on and evolve and grow as well. So hopefully
Yeah.
that helps. I'm learning it too.
Yeah, it's definitely a good approach, right? Being more genuine with your content. Sometimes we feel we need to over process or over produce, but some that could take the life out of the music. Where if you keep it more raw, it sounds more authentic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am, just for you guys to know as well, I'm here recording from Tyr Kohout's studio today, and this is where where I record all of my vocals, where we did all of the vocals for the sample pack as well. He's just been chilling in the other room, supervising my audio configuration
Nice.
and chatting with you guys in the chat, but if he hears this, he might pop over.
Yeah,
So
Tyr, do you want to pop in and say hello?
he's really the I couldn't have made this without him. My story as a vocalist is that I started for many years just recording myself in my bedroom, as most of us do, and then after several years of doing collabs that way, I met Tyr through SoundCloud, for a collab, as is a classic wanna collab bro story. He was living in Toronto where I'm living as well, and it was the first time that I'd ever worked on a drum and bass collab in person. Before that, anybody I really knew in drum and bass was from the internet, from the heyday of SoundCloud, and so I was very much used to, like, you know, sending files back and forth and recording myself. But recording with Tyr was my first situation of, oh, I can actually go to his studio and we can like work on something. And so I remember being so nervous and like nervous to sing in front of him, and like he's like, let's work on more lyrics. I'm like, what? I need time to work on lyrics. So it was a very like transformational experience, and it was also my first time recording at somebody else's place with, you know, different gear and that kind of thing, and actual expertise, because he went to audio engineering school, he works in a music store, so he actually knew what he was doing versus me like trying to put a compressor on my voice in my bedroom on my laptop. So it sounded really good, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, would you be willing to essentially be hired so that I take you on all my vocal projects as my engineer? And that was back in 2017, and so any of my vocal features, if you've heard, that have been released since then, have all been recorded and edited by Tyr. A lot of what we do as well is add like vocal effects from the studio so that producers can just drop them in, and that's why we did the vocal effects for the vocal sample pack too, because it's just you know, kind of what we like to do. And then he helps me write harmonies as well, so he's a really big part of this, and just really, really grateful that he was willing to help with the pack and that Stranger was willing to release it.
Yeah, you guys are a great team, and there's something about being able to work with someone live. There's this synergy and magic that can happen as opposed to sending files back and forth. Having that live element working in real time, there's something special. So, yeah.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
it's the man.
Thanks.
How's it
man.
going?
This is good, man. Yeah, I've just been in the other room, checking out the stream and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, it's been going quite well so far. I'm glad that this is happening.
Yeah, I'm just happy you and Anna have worked so hard to create this awesome product, and people are able to check it out today.
Yeah, me too. This is one of those projects that it already kind of sounded really big in scale, even when we were just kind of talking about it.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, but when we actually started executing on it, we realized like, oh man, this is really, really big, especially with the two speed thing. I remember we were just hanging out at the cottage and trying to figure out, like, how are we going to tackle the sort of more than one genre thing, because it is actually a problem that I had just with my own productions and stuff, is like how do I get a good, I guess, spread of vocals to use in my own tracks, because it's a real problem, right? Like a lot of the time I ended up dragging in vocals from house music because they actually sounded kind of more fresh, even though I was using them at like 170 something BPM. Not that there is anything wrong with obviously using the vocals as they are intended, but I found that for good little, I guess, like stabs and loops and like effects stuff, either it didn't exist or it was like an afterthought in the pack. It might have only been 4 or 5 pieces of it, never mind however many we ended up with, probably like 180 something, I think, effects loops in total. Like something where I can actually just sit there in a browser and just hit enter and just try all these different starting off points. And I find when you're kind of unencumbered by having so little selection, where you can finally find like a little clip or something, even if you replace it with later with something else, big producers that we know will work with packs and template vocals. They'll write the track around that, basically mute or delete the channel, and then have a different vocalist come in and then actually record it, either modify the vocals that they use from the pack or just do something totally fresh and don't even tell the vocalist like that they had a vocal there before. They'll just here record something to this. So even if you guys don't necessarily use the vocals like armed and live in the track, I think just having something where you can kind of get the bones of your track together, because it's already in kind of an arrangement. People already do this with other people's music anyway. They'll put it into Ableton or your DAW of choice, but they'll put it into your DAW, they'll look at the waveform and see where the breakdown drop 1, drop 2 is, put markers in it, and then kind of time your tracks with other tracks to make it more DJable. That's a thing. Using vocals like that's a thing. Like hopefully the idea with it anyways, it's whether or not the vocals are audible in your track is kind of almost beside the point. It's like, how can we get your creativity at a higher level, and how can we kind of pull more music out of you using these kind of starting building blocks of the track. I certainly don't use every sample that I start with in my tunes. Obviously, if you find a really good like groove with one of our samples, like if you speed it up and now it's in a different key or something like that, and if you find some other way to use it that you find creative, like go nuts. But there's so many different ways you could use samples besides just strictly, I'm going to put vocals in here, I'm going to put delay and effects on it, and then print it like that. Like honestly, speed it up, slow it down, stretch it, do whatever you want, resample it, put it through effects pedals, whatever you want to do. Like it's that process of us changing our process. How many times can I say process? But yeah, no, really, like it's that whole thing of us like doing stuff differently is what even led to it being where it is now, of like, how can we do it not in the way that everyone else does it? So that's sort of my 2 cents.
I liked that you had your hand in it, because as a producer, you're coming with that perspective. So this vocal pack comes with both perspectives, one as the vocalist, but also as the producer. And that's very valuable, because you need that producer perspective, in that as a producer, what would I want in this pack, right? How can this help me as a producer?
Yes.
And you really put some thought into that in terms of the additional content that you guys put into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And I sort of equated almost to like big banks of kick drum samples in a folder. And Alan, I know you're no stranger to having lots and lots of kick drums to choose from. I think you have more than me. And it's like, yeah, I probably could sit there and make, every kick sample, but it's a little more digestible when you've got an idea in your head to just throw that down and say, I'm going to make, 50% of my track with this sample. Maybe I'll change it later, but it's really important when you're in a creative space that you've got really a very small window of time. And Alan, I'd be curious to know your experience with this too, but I tend to find that when you have an idea or an inspiration, it's a fleeting thing. There's a very good chance it'll go away if you can't act on it quickly. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the idea with samples is like, all right, well, now that I have this kind of wind, let's try to get it out there as fast as possible. Quick temp snare, temp, kick, temp hi-hats. I just want to be able to put the sketch in there, and then on the following day or following week, then you'll sit down there with your critical ears, listen to it really carefully, because you've already got the creative part out. Now it's time to be Dr. Engineer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it initially I kind of, I guess, had this, I don't know, this pride around, well, I have to make everything myself, and you can still do that, but you will immediately lose your creative inspiration if you decide you're going to get into the sound design rabbit hole while you're trying to write music. For 10 years, it's not like I haven't tried that. I've tried playing the sound engineer design guy while making music. It works a little bit, but most of the time you really do have to have like content to draw from first, and then go in and kind of touch it up and make it epic later.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, it made a little more sense maybe 10, 15 years ago, where we didn't have access to all these tools and samples, that you had to engineer everything from scratch. We're now at a different phase in the production landscape, where a lot of that has been streamlined, so you can leverage off of prepared kicks and snares that already sound good, and then you can focus on the creative aspect.
And I'd be sort of on a related topic, I'd be curious to know how your kind of first production setup even looked like, where like we're using like a keyboard and like an Akai sampler or something like that. How did you find yourself even making your first beats? Because you've been at it for like a minute. Yeah,
I mean, when I started, it was actually with a DOS-based software called Fast Tracker. So it was simply all I had was a PC and some samples. But then I moved on to After that, I got hardware gear. I had an EMU sampler and one synthesizer, and started to produce that way. Yeah, what I can say is that the old way versus the new way, definitely in the old way, you had to create from scratch, and everything was a lot more manual. And the good thing about that, the old way, is that it gives you a deeper appreciation of sound design and how things were constructed. Um, Perhaps that's one thing that newer producers are missing out on, is the I guess the the foundations behind the constructing sound. But that's not especially a bad thing, because now we can focus on writing as opposed to as you say, design.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's kind of an interesting point that we're in. I see some people say their info slingers starting doing tape loops. That's in the weeds, man.
Yeah.
Because it's that would involve actually physically cutting a piece of tape on an angle, and
That's nuts. Yeah.
and there's a special kind of tape you would have to use. Couldn't use a Scotch tape. There's like special glue on the tape that would keep
Yeah.
it together in just the right way. That's a lot of work,
Yeah.
but old retakes for stuff like that would work that way. Or if the band needed to retake, you would have to unwind the tape to exactly where you could kind of get away with a splice. Hopefully there was no
Yeah.
pops or clicks or whatever, because
You got to find the very big. You got to manually find the beginning of the first beat, and you got to
Yeah.
cut there. I have
Yikes.
a huge appreciation for that. That's
Yeah.
just take it back one level.
Yeah, that's a completely new thing. And then hopefully your tape job was good, so that it didn't break in the middle of you doing it, because that was a thing, right? Because it's not strong enough anymore. So when it goes over the tape head, it could, by the time it goes back on the uptake reel, it just see you later, and then you lose that take. So that I don't miss. I've seen it done, but I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. But what I was gonna say is that we're kind of entered in like a phase 2.5 of music production, where hardware-based like sampling and production is kind of making a return, especially
cool.
with modular synths and samplers and stuff. Electron has a whole bunch of different gear, like the Digitac, Digitone, Syntact, all sorts of different stuff, where you can write the track kind of outside of I don't want to say a computer, because all those things are computers, but outside of, I guess, a conventional DAW environment, but also still enjoy the benefits of the DAW, because when you're done, you can stem off all that stuff to your software, either through real-time recording or bouncing it out and then transferring it over to a USB stick. Not unlike if you took the samples off of your old Kurzweil keyboard on a floppy drive and then moved them somewhere else. But we're just kind of updating that a little bit for a new context, and there's no reason why you couldn't do that same thing with vocal samples. It's really the only difference is that instead of having 640K of RAM on your sampler, where you had to either lower your sample rate really, really low so that you could get enough time on the sample, then it sounds really scratchy and lo-fi. Or if you set it to a high res mode, you maybe had like half a second or something to sample with it.
Yeah.
We've just kind of broken out of that barrier a little bit, and the resolution as a result is just nice and clean. But you can still do all that stuff even today if you want to get into it. All the keyboards and synths are totally a thing, and I think companies have caught on to what you're saying, Alan. Of we've definitely gotten rid of something there when you're just messing around on a tiny little OSD with all you have are your knobs and buttons. You kind of have to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Where if it's like an unlimited, plethora of choices that you have in front of you, sometimes you're paralyzed by choice. It's a really common phrase that I hear.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear your experiences writing music and how you've kind of gone on your journey.
It's really cool that the fact that what you said about we're going back into that, returning to that phase where we're reintroducing hardware, because the technology has gotten to a point where the technology's kind of caught up, and you're able to do a lot more in that kind of realm. So it's an interesting world to explore. I know Tiny Bites is really into gear. Shouts out to Tiny Bites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad we have so many people that where I'm not just speaking Greek. Like it's something that these guys have actually had direct experience with making music, quotation marks, the old way. I'm happy to get it out of the way if you want to.
No, that's
Actually,
cool.
I wanted to ask you guys a question. Going back to the pack, working together. What was one of the most memorable moments working on this pack?
I'll let you start with that one. That's
I'll let each of one of you guys answer.
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's tough to say because it's been like over a year in the making, and so it almost feels like my whole year in some way, shape, or form had was impacted by this project in the best way possible. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I just really enjoyed was because there was so much. We have so many recording sessions for the vocals themselves. Oh man, I have so many memories. One thing I will say is that one thing that I learned from Tyr was kind of like breaking up big projects into smaller pieces over time so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And one thing I really enjoyed was hearing him create the vocal effects loops. As I already said before, like I'm just obsessed with like hearing crazy vocal samples and delays and chopped vocals and rhythms and that kind of thing. And I remember whenever he would have a session, I might be, making some food for us in the background or something and just kind of like hearing what he's doing and just like, oh, that sounds sick, man. And I'm like, cooking or something on the pan or whatever. And so, yeah, it was really great. I'm going to add a second one here, which was because of Tyr, I was able to get all of the bonus like field recordings with the nature sounds and that kind of thing. And that's something that he helped me get, one of those like Zoom recorders. And so I've really just kind of had it in my bag over the last year anywhere I go, with whether I'm going for like a walk in nature or by the water or, just he really helped me think about any curious sounds that I might come across on my day-to-day life. And so some of the noises you'll hear are like, I have like a storage locker in my apartment, and so there's like a rattling like cage kind of door, and I'm like, oh, that would be sick for the sample. And just recognizing that a lot of music producers will use just random sounds for wavetables or as like texture, or you just need some sort of source material and then kind of manipulate it in some cool way. So it's really opened up my ears to like sound is all around us. Like,
Yes, the world of sound. Yeah, that's really
good
cool.
answer.
Yeah.
Because I will say that a lot of my involvement with the pack has been more, I guess, administrative, where basically I was the one, doing the editing, setting up the recording, doing all the studio stuff. That to me didn't necessarily stick out in my mind because we've done that, a million times. But the part that probably stuck out to me the most was kind of our first meeting about it when we were all kind of hanging out up north of the cottage, like discussing what this pack really should be. That was interesting because it stuck out to my mind of like, oh, this is going to be a significant project, and this could be a bit of a game changer in some ways. That stuck out to me. I was like, all right, well, this project's really worth doing, and I'm glad we stuck with it.
Yeah, so for reference, that was we did like one time only like cabin retreat, the three of us, as like a kind of a Deviant audio fam jam situation to go like on vacation for a weekend. But obviously we ended up like working, planning. I think we filmed like a video episode and so.
Oh yeah, we did a podcast. Like we were not on vacation. We were just working somewhere else.
But it was nice to be like in nature in a different setting. And you're right, like that occurred to me as well. And like in his question about the memory of like, I do remember that being kind of the launching pad of.
Yeah, that was a good memory.
Yeah, pretty much almost like a year to the day, more or less. You have a photo on your fridge of when we were hanging out then. But anywho, the other memorable part for me was pretty much making all the effects and stuff, because it's not often the case where I'm just going to sit there and just work on effects today. Where there's usually more than one thing I'm going to tackle. But she says like, I'll just put the headphones on, I'll start making effects, she'll be working at dinner, cleaning, something like that, writing another song, and I would come home after work and basically just do that for like an hour, 2 hours, however much I could take, because you've worked the whole day, like there's only so much energy you have left. So I would break it up into bits so that I wouldn't feel like it's a chore anymore, because with music and stuff, I want to feel inspired to want to do it. And you're not necessarily going to feel inspired every single day. You don't want to practice every day either, but you have to. But I still wanted to feel like it was a new thing that I was doing. So it kind of ended up being a bit of a creative exercise. There's basically like 6 unreleased house track demos that I don't know what we're going to do with them, but I basically made tracks to make the effects to, because I can't necessarily just abstractly make effects into the ether. Like there has to be some sort of backbone to it.
That's interesting.
So who knows if those tracks might surface? Let me just turn the battery off. But
you'll hear some of those in the audio demos on the page with all the information about this
Yeah.
pack. It's got the majority of those, like the instrumental sounds that you hear, are Tyr's just like creating stuff so that we can record to and make effects to.
yeah, it because everything needed a track. I wasn't just gonna rip something off of someone else. I figured I could just make something myself, and that's what I did. And the same thing with that other demo you have up was just a track that I actually made Alan with your kit. I think it was the Liquid kit, where I used that as a lift-off point. It's a perfect example of again, like starting with other people's samples and then clawing it back to be your thing. But I wouldn't have made the track in that way and that quickly were it not for the fact that it was in a production kit. So it was another example of why those types of products really do work. But yeah, I guess mixed together would be writing a lot of tracks that I don't normally write at 120 something beats per minute, using different techniques and different ways of thinking about like structure of the music. That was interesting and a cool experiment, and kind of made me realize maybe I should do more of that outside of when I'm obligated to, of like maybe I really should just open up, Ableton, set the tempo really slow and then see where it takes me, because there's more than one right way to write music. And yeah, just making the effects in ways that we've done similarly. Like I've had a lot of practice doing that for when we submit tracks like professionally for then like a project we're actually working on. But just to do it was kind of a cool experience, because the pack still would have been good without that. But I think it added a dimension that's very hard to kind of quantify, but I think it adds another possibility for creativity, and so that's why I put the time into it, because now it just makes it even more special, and it's kind of a contribution from both of us.
Yeah. I like that the concept of creating a pool of material to help kind of boost creativity. So the concept of pulling in those loops to kind of build a vibe, or pulling in the entire vocal phrase so you have kind of a reference point to build a track on. That's definitely a concept that I use from time to time, as well as other producers, because when you're starting with a blank canvas, sometimes you don't know where to start. But when you have a vocal, then it kind of gives you some direction to start a track, right? So I like the whole concept of how we're creating the tools to help kind of jumpstart creativity.
That's totally what you're doing.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I think were you thinking to possibly build a track around some of the
I
vocals?
think I might drop a quick little beat with the vocals after this call. I might start a low beat and just show everyone the potential of this pack.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun thing to watch. Great idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having us. This has been really, really special, and I'm really glad we ended up having this little stream here. And thanks everyone for joining in the chat. It was really nice to hang with you. And hope the sounds inspire you. And thank you so much for your support. It really means the world to me. This is, I think, one of the biggest projects of my entire life. So thank you.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Yeah. Yes, everyone, please check it out. You can check it down in the link below. You can check out the preview of this pack if it interests you. Again, Tyr Kohout and flowanastasia have worked super hard on this pack. It's been over a year of work and tons of awesome stuff in this little collection. I think you guys will really enjoy it. It will help you jumpstart your creativity, even if you're not into drum and bass, because again, each song is recorded at 2 tempos, one at a slower tempo and another at drum and bass tempo. So really fun and awesome. And thank you again, guys, for dropping by the show and having a little chat. It was
Of course.
great to connect with you guys. And let's keep in touch, and we'll hang out soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for hosting the pack, Alan, and I just really hope your audience enjoys it. And thank you everybody who's been chatting with us and hanging out and checking out the sounds and stuff. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to be hanging out with you, Alan.
Sweet. All right, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Take care.
Talk soon.
Bye.
All right. Bye. All right, guys. Just want to say thanks to Tyr and flowanastasia for dropping by the show. And yeah, as I was just mentioning on the live stream, let's just dive into pack a little bit so you can get a little more feel of how you can use this in your own creations. So let me just share my screen here. Here we are. Okay. And yeah. Boom. Okay. So let's just start a little bit from scratch. So I'm gonna go back into the songs folder, and I'm gonna check out Orion. This one sounds interesting. I'm kind of tempted to go 129 BPM, see what happens. Yeah, let's go there. We're gonna go use the dry ones, 129. Pull it in again. Hold Control or Command so you can drop it into separate tracks each. And let's check it out over here. Just... And let's bump this up to 140 beats per minute. We'll maybe do something funky, maybe some dubstep or some slow breakbeat stuff. Okay, so if you're pitching it up, I would recommend, well, Complex is probably the best algorithm. I tend to go to Complex Pro, but I heard Complex is the same thing as Complex Pro when you bring the format down to 0. So, and make sure to click Warp. Otherwise, it's not going to time correctly. So let me just pump it back to 129. Okay, so go select all the files. Make sure you click Warp. Okay, and then I'm going to use Complex Pro as the stretching algorithm. Bring the format down to 0 so that okay, I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Something sounds doesn't sound right here. Well, Anastasia, if you're in the chat, does this sound right? Oh, I'm at 140 beats per minute. All right, good. Okay, glad it sounds good. And then, okay, so we have the vocals in. Let's pull in some percussion and just build something.
Galaxies in between, unseen, undiscovered. I wonder.
Okay, I'm just gonna let's pull in some drums here.
Galaxies in between, unseen, undiscovered.
Throw in some claps.
Galaxies in between, unseen, undiscovered.
I like that. Kind of has a UK garage vibe to that hi-hat. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Galaxies in between, unseen, undiscovered. I wonder. Imaginary lives more than meets your eye, your eye. Seem to identify luminous, letting it guide us, reminding us of what we're made of. But you say you feel insignificant when you think of it. So
Okay, so let's decide to get a vibe here, or maybe some music. So this song was written in B minor, so let's find some sounds that can play along with the vocal. So this is the when using acapellas, this is what I like is that it gives us that reference point when you're writing a track to know kind of a key. There's already a key, so that question has already been answered for you. So it just answers a lot of questions for you. So you don't have to figure out where to start, right? Let's pull in some keys here. I wondered if that would work.
luminous, letting it guide us, reminding us of what we're made of. But you say you feel insignificant when you think of it. So small, baby, you're the opposite. Ooh, part of something greater, underestimated.
That's an interesting pad. Let's just pull it in and see what happens, right? Sometimes I find a really good concept when producing is always say yes, and instead of saying no, say yes, even if you don't think it's gonna work, because you never know where it might bring you. Although it might not be the right starting point, it might lead you to where you want to be. So always say yes is is a good approach when you're making music. I wonder if you guys can relate to that. Always say yes. And what I mean about this is, so this chord, it's one of those chords. It's a synth patch where the chord is pre-built into the patch. So it's probably playing a minor third. So when you just had to play one key and it plays a chord. The problem with that is when you play different keys, you might get a key that doesn't belong to the scale of the song. And I'm just wondering how that's going to sound over the vocal. But again, we're just going to say yes and see where this brings us.
2 minutes, letting it guide us, reminding us of what.
Okay, I think I want to hear it change up after the first 2 bars. So I'm going to duplicate that. Do, 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 do.
2 minutes, letting it guide us, reminding us of what we're made of.
This note.
2 minutes, letting it guide us, reminding us of what we're made of. But you say you.
Okay, let's keep building. Okay, we got 1 sound. Again, let's we have a sound, so let's add another sound and let's just see where this takes us, all right? Tyr, I'm glad you like that tip. I'm feeling something arpy, for lack of better terms. I've been using Analog Lab a lot recently. I just like the patches it comes with. Not sure if this is the right sound, but let's.
2 minutes, letting it guide us, reminding us of what we're made of. But you say
Oh, okay. Let me look into the noise reduction on StreamYard. So apparently the audio could be better. So let me see. I'll remove echo cancellation because there should be any echo. And then okay. I just changed the settings on my audio. Hopefully that's better. Let me know if it's an improvement.
2 minutes.
There's this really cool synth that Arteria came out with recently. It's the Korg MS-20. This thing is a beast. Shouts out to my friend Shelly Johansson who tipped me on this synth. It's a beast. Glad it sounds better now.
Letting it guide
happens with this guy. So we are in B, the vocals are in B minor. So let's just cheat a little bit. B minor scale. I know the trolls are gonna hound on me for cheating. These are just tools to, as a catalyst for your creativity.
2 minutes, letting it guide us, reminding us of what we're made of. But you say you feel inside.
Okay, I like the notes. I want to fine tune the sound a little. I like that.
2 minutes, letting it guide us, reminding us.
Need something a little pluckier. Let's try Omnisphere. Big up Flow Anastasia. Shouts to the Tiny Bites. Info Slinger, what's up? Yeah, Scalar 2 is quite handy.
Of what we're made of, but you say you feel insignificant when you think of it. So
I'm hearing a string sound. Let me pull another Omnisphere in. Something like a cello or something. Let's see what we can find here. Sounds like a Jurassic Park more than cellos. These are some odd cellos. some bass. Now that we have a couple melodic elements, now we can drop in the bass. I'm gonna pull in a preset from Wubs and Wobbles. I think we'll drop into that later in the track, but let's just pull in the notes. Second bass. I'm feeling something melodic during the intro. Let's pull in Serum. Here we go. Pull in the Liquid Reese from the Gnarly kit. Just a handy preset. Follow, I mean, this bass line, you can just follow the notes of the chord, all right? So you can pull in the notes. That's when a key doesn't sound like it belongs here. So let's fix that. B minor. Oh, it does belong. I think at this point I want to drop the bass line. We will do one of these. Just for tiny bites, I'll put a auto pan on the riser. Let's visit the rest of these vocals, see how the music works with it. I'm just going to group the vocals so it's a little easier to manage here. I'll just color these so I can identify them a little bit more easily. Start here. Throw in some kind of UK garage style hi-hat loops. I have some lying around here in Splice. Let's see. Oh, I don't have Splice loaded here. Let me see if I can find it here. Not these guys. Yeah, something like that.
I wonder.
having the vocals, it can kind of guide the session. One, it guides the melodic components like the keys and the type of harmonies you play over it, and then the structure of the song as well. So it helps you solve those questions, right?
Night, looking at the sky. Luminous, letting it guide us, reminding us of what we're made of. But you say you feel insignificant when you think of it so small. Baby, you're the opposite. Part of something greater, part of something greater, beyond imagination.
And as Flowanastasia was saying, the structures that these were recorded, that's just a suggestion of how they could be arranged, right? But that's not to prevent you from splicing up the phrases. For example, I might want to come back to this phrase or this phrase after this, right? So you could just split it and maybe bring it back. I think it's over, hopefully I got this right. I think around here. Right, and then oh, that's a nice vibe. See, this we brought that initial intro phrase over, and it's a nice combination over these harmonies. This could even be a theme. The harmonies here. Like you could take this as a theme and put it on its own track. Let's just add an audio track here and 2 audio tracks. Like you can take this and just use it as a loop, right? As a theme through the track. Might want to, maybe we could filter a little. Maybe see what happens if we add the sum filter. We'll make this a. Oh, this isn't the one. Is it this one? Yeah, this one. Let's try bandpass. I'll just mute the other vocals for now. else we can find in here that we could loop?
I wonder. Night. Ooh. Ooh,
Maybe this could work as well, right? Maybe we can interchange between the two. Let's hear that from the top again. All right, we got a little number here that we started. Pretty cool. As you can see, and having that vocal really helps the creative process. Makes it easy to make certain creative decisions. So yeah, once again, I was using the pack, Flowanastasia's sample pack here. Today is the official release date. So you can grab it now in the link below. And we do have a special for all you viewers tuned in today. If you check the link in the description, you'll receive 10% off. If you're on my email list, look for an even sweeter deal. Flowanastasia and Tyr Kohout have worked really hard on this pack, and they've really packed this collection with a ton of value, as you can see. Lots of little bits and pieces to help you spurt creativity, and that's really the idea behind when I started Deviant Audio. In terms of when we started to create tools, is that we wanted to help you guys jumpstart creativity, have tools to help you facilitate the writing process. And flowanastasia and Tyr Kohout really have embodied this concept to give you a pack that will last and will last the test of time, because there's tons of material here that should last you for a while. And with the different tempos and variations, no two users who use the pack should have the same result, because you have so much choice here in how you use these samples. So yeah, encourage you guys to check the link below to learn more about flowanastasia Waves, her premier sample pack, and very honored to have it on Deviant Audio. And yeah, other than that, want to thank you guys for chiming in, dropping by this live stream as we celebrate this inaugural release. And shouts out to everyone in the chat. Shouts out to Tiny Bites. Thanks for engaging with us. Info Slinger, what's up? Freak, what's up, man? Tyr Kohout and flowanastasia, it was nice to have you during our live stream today. Resonate, what's up? What's up? Yeah, other than that, we should be having another video on Thursday. We'll have a video about drums, so stay tuned for that one. Other than that, hope you guys enjoy your day. Keep on staying creative, keep on being healthy, and have fun in the studio. Peace.